Hello, everyone. It is another Wednesday. How you feeling? You're making it through the week. We are making it through January. We're over halfway done with January now, and I am feeling very good about January being in the rearview mirror, but we're not quite there yet. But I hope you had a good week this week. I'm Michael Halfhill. I am one of the pastors here at the Piedmont Park Seventh-day Adventist Church, and I wanted to share with you a text in the Bible that sometimes causes people to get a little confused. For most of us who have studied the Bible, we may have heard this phrase before and not fully known what it meant. There's this phrase in the New Testament of being under grace. What does it mean to be under grace? Because, of course, here now, after Jesus dying on the cross, we are saved by grace through faith. But what a lot of people don't realize is before Jesus died on the cross, people were saved by grace through faith. They just had to have more faith looking forward to the event. Today, we have faith looking back to it. So what does it mean to be under grace? We find this phrase in Romans chapter 6, where it says in chapter 6, verse 14, "For sin shall not have dominion over you, for you are not under law, but under grace." Now, some have used that to say, well, now it's New Testament times. Jesus died on the cross. We're not under the law anymore, so the law is done away with. That's a bit of a problem, folks, because the Bible also lets us know that if there is no law, then there is no sin. And so what does Paul mean when he says we're under grace? And in case people get really confused, the very next verse, verse 15, he says, now what then? Since we're under grace, what then? Shall we sin because we're not under law, but under grace? Certainly not. And that in the Greek there, and certainly not, is like he's banging his fist on the table like, no, we don't sin because we're under grace. So what he's talking about is he's meaning that we're not under the law anymore. And the law was never a way to save ourselves. It could never save ourselves. Otherwise, people would be earning salvation by their works, and that never worked. That was never the plan. The law was to show us our problems, to show us our sins so that we would turn to God to get help, to get grace. So under grace means that is how we are saved. And if you think of it this way, understanding under the law and under grace, think about your foot got a little heavy on the pedal or started going a little too fast while you were driving, and you looked in the rearview mirror behind you, and there are the spinning lights of a policeman who is there to let you know you were going too fast. So he pulls you over, he says license, registration, you hand it to him very sheepishly because when you saw the lights, you looked at the speedometer and sure enough, you were going 10 miles over the speed limit. So he goes back and checks things and he comes to you, and now you're guilty, right? I'm guilty if we were speeding 10 miles over the speed limit. What do we deserve? We deserve a ticket. We are under the law. But sometimes, and some have this happen way more than others, sometimes a policeman decides, I clocked you going 10 miles over the speed limit, but I'm going to let you go on a warning today. Please just slow down. Now, friends, you were under the law. You deserved punishment. But instead, someone chose to give you grace. So now you're under grace. Does that mean when the policeman goes back to his car that you're like, the laws of speed no longer apply to me. I can drive as fast as I want? Is that what you do? Do you just peel out of there at 100 miles an hour? Of course not. Instead, you're like, I'm so thankful I'm just going to drive under the speed limit now. So being under grace doesn't free us up to sin. Paul says, no. Being under grace, we're so thankful for the grace we have. Now we want to follow God, obey him, and live for him and others every day. That's what it means to be under grace. So if you were confused with that, or if you had a hard time explaining that to others, that's why I wanted to share that with you today. I hope you have a great rest of your week. Hope you'll join us this coming weekend here at Piedmont Park. We have our Bible study time at 9:30, and we have our worship time at 11. And you can join us in person here at Piedmont Park in Lincoln, Nebraska, or you can join us online here at YouTube. And this week we're going to continue our sermon series on healthy relationships. The series is called The Way of Love, and we hope that it'll be a blessing to you. Friends, have a great rest of your week. Take care, and let's take care of everyone.